Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. I Charan Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, ISKCON's BBT founder, Acharya Jagadguru Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Om Viṣṇu Purāṇa Paramahamsa Privajakacarya Astu Authorita Tashishi Mad Nitya Lila Wisdom is Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki Braj Bhumi Bindavan Dham ki Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki Shri Purushottam Kshetra Jagannatha Puri Dham ki Gangamai ki Yamuna Mai ki Bhakti Devi ki Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Shri Radha Govinda ki Shri Radha Govinda Dev's New York Mission Yatra Dham ki Yuga Dharma Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan Movement ki Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपीजनवल्लभा वरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी तीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी क्षेत्र धाम की गंगामाय यमुनामाय की तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की गौ प्रेमानंदे all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki. Welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're reading from the 4th canto, 14th chapter, titled The Story of King Vena. And we'll be reciting the 18th verse today. Yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva Yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ Bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ. Please chant. Yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair anvitaiḥ. Yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ. Yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ. Anyone else? Yasya, whose, rāṣṭre, in the state or kingdom, pure, in the cities, cha, also, caiva, certainly, bhagavān, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yajña-pūruṣaḥ, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, ijyate, is worshipped, svena, their own, dharmeṇa, by occupation, janaiḥ, by the people, varṇāśrama, the system of 8 social orders, anvitaiḥ, who follow. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation: the king is supposed to be pious, in whose state and cities the general populace strictly observes the system of 8 social orders of varna and āśrama, and where all citizens engage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their particular occupation. Please repeat after me. The king is supposed to be pious, in whose state and cities the general populace strictly observes the system of 8 social orders of varna and āśrama, and where all the citizens engage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their particular occupations. Purport: the state's duty and the citizen's duty are very nicely explained in this verse. The activities of the government head or king, as well as the activities of the citizens, should be so directed that ultimately everyone engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The king or government head is supposed to be the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is therefore supposed to see that things go on nicely and that citizens are situated in the specific social order comprised of 4 varnas and 4 āśramas. In the Viṣṇu Purāṇa, it is stated that unless people are educated or situated in the scientific social order comprised of 4 varnas, brāhmaṇa, kṣatriya, vaishya, and shudra, and 4 āśramas, namely brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa, society can never be considered real human society, nor can it make any advancement towards the ultimate goal of human life. It is the duty of the government to see that things go on in terms of varna and āśrama. As stated here in Bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, is the yajña-pūruṣaḥ. As stated in Bhagavad-gītā 5.29, bhoktāram yajña-tapasām, Kṛṣṇa is the ultimate purpose of all sacrifice. He is also the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Therefore, he is known as yajña-pūruṣa. The word yajña-pūruṣa indicates Lord Viṣṇu or Lord Kṛṣṇa, or any personality of Godhead in the category of viṣṇu-tattva. In perfect human society, people are situated in the order of varna and āśrama, and are engaged in worshipping Lord Viṣṇu by their respective activities. Every citizen engaged in an occupation renders service by the resultant actions of his activities. That is the perfection of life. As stated in the Bhagavad-gītā 18.46, Yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmanatam abhyarcha siddhing vindati manavaha. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, attain perfection. Thus the brāhmaṇas, kṣatriyas, shudras, and vaishyas must execute their prescribed duties as these duties are stated in the Shastras. In this way, everyone can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viṣṇu. The king or government head has to see that the citizens are thus engaged. In other words, the state or the government must not deviate from its duty by declaring that the state is a secular one, which has no interest in whether or not people advanced in varṇa-āśrama dharma. Today, people are engaged in government service, and people who rule over the citizens have no respect for the varṇāśrama dharma. They complacently feel that the state is secular. In such a government, no one can be happy. The people must follow the varṇa-āśrama dharma, and the king must see that they are following it nicely. Om ajñāna-timirandhasya jnānāñjana-śalakaya chakshurunmīlitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Viṣakhāṅvitaṅscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair varṇāśramānvitaiḥ. The king is supposed to be pious, in whose state and cities the general populace strictly observes the system of 8 social orders of varna and āśrama, and where all citizens engage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their particular occupations. So welcome everyone to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class once again. Like I said, we'll be speaking on the 18th verse, which predominantly talks about varṇāśrama dharma. So what is society actually meant for? Is the goal of society simply comfort, freedom, and productivity, or is it something deeper? Does anyone have any idea? Sense gratification? What else? What is the ultimate goal of society? What is it ultimately made for? Right. So there's something more to society than just sense gratification. It's one of the things, but there's more to it, like Natpur Gauranga Prabhu just said. Kama is the first thing, and then, well, actually, dharma is the first thing, so you can make money through religious practice. And then through that money, you can satisfy your desires, kama. And then kama leads to moksha, liberation eventually. But higher than that, liberation is, of course, the love of Godhead. And we all have an idea of that. But today, we'll be speaking specifically about the effects of our varṇāśrama system and the effects of lack thereof, meaning if varṇāśrama system is missing from society, which is basically what is happening now. So Prabhupada says, the translation says that the king is supposed to be pious, in whose state and cities the general populace strictly observes the system of 8 social orders of varna and āśrama, and where all the citizens engage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their particular occupation. So basically, a successful society is one that helps people worship the Supreme Lord through their daily life. It's not that varṇāśrama dharma means that everyone will be a devotee. No, there's different kinds of transcendentalists. There's different kinds of fruitive workers. There's a whole variety of people in society. Not all of them will be worshiping the Supreme Lord. But the point is, through varṇāśrama dharma, whatever they're doing will please the Supreme Lord automatically. Even if they don't become devotees, that's all right. Sure, in another sense, it's not all right, but just for the sake of having a good society, following varṇāśrama dharma is very important. And Bhagavatam is not rejecting the society in current. It's trying to give it a purpose. It's trying to tell us that success in society is not defined by the GDP of a country, the military strength, how many different or how much technological advances it has made, or one can even say by individual freedom, as it is very common in the Western world. This liberation, that liberation, so many different kinds of liberation are going on. But that doesn't make society advance necessarily, at least in spiritual matters. The whole point of varṇāśrama dharma is that it purifies the consciousness. And that's what Bhagavatam is trying to bring forth to us. That is the consciousness of the society being purified. Whatever they're doing, is it purifying their consciousness? Is it elevating them? If it is not, then something must be done to elevate that consciousness. Because ultimately, we're all here seeking something higher, whether we know it or we don't know it. We're always seeking some sort of enjoyment. And that enjoyment, the ultimate enjoyment, can only come when we are purified in our consciousness. So this verse says that a king is pious only when people follow varṇāśrama, and when people follow and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead through their work. So the metric of success, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, is not comfort, it's not technological advancement, it's not freedom, it is consciousness, rather purification of consciousness. So a society can be orderly, like we see in Europe, in America to a certain extent, but generally Europe, the society is very organized. They have good social welfare, people get benefits. Like for example, in Germany, when a woman turns 50, they're mandated by the government to go and get a mammograph done to check for breast cancer. And this is mandatory. You cannot not do it. You have to do it, otherwise the government will fine you. And my mother, when she turned 50, she did it, and she found out that she had breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So she survived it. She's still alive, which is great. All glories to her for fighting through it. But the point is that even if society is orderly, even if society has so much technological advances to, so to say, fight cancer for a certain time, if it does not aim at God realization, then it is not ultimately the best society there is. It could be higher, and it should be higher, because the whole purpose of our existence is that whatever we do with our work, we have to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's what the Bhagavatam says. So, and this is also why Bhagavatam it's not rejecting society, but it's often critiquing the materially advanced but spiritually empty civilizations, and that's basically society at large at the current moment. They're materially very advanced, but spiritually hollow and empty. So this varna and ashrama is scientific. Like varna, Prabhupada writes in this purport that it is scientific. Does anyone know what the word scientific means in this case? He uses it often, to the point where one may even say, why is he using this word so redundantly? But what does scientific mean? Yes? Right, so it's like pratyaksha basically. You try something and you get the results and then you can see, okay, palena parichiyate is what Prabhupada says. So basically, scientific means society is working according to reality, not ideology. Not that you have some thought, okay, society should be like this, like communism, for example. It's not full, it's not complete, because it's invented by man, and it's missing God from the center. So two things. First, it's invented or created by an imperfect person, and it's missing the perfect person, which is God. So communism without God can never be complete. Like Prabhupada says, communism without God is just cheating. So, like that, varna is scientific and so is ashrama. But why is varna so important? Because, does anyone know? Any ideas? Why is varna or social status, not social status, but your social standing so important, based on your work, I mean? Why is it so important? Yes? Right. Anyone else? Exactly. Did you have something to say? No, over there. Right, exactly. So basically from what all of you said is that not everyone is identical. They're all psychologically, physically, mentally different. And if they're mentally different, that means they're spiritually also very different, because ultimately we're all a unique spark of Kṛṣṇa. So Kṛṣṇa has unlimited opulences and we are a spark of that opulence. And everyone is spiritually equal in value. That's the other thing. Which means that although we are different in a certain way, in another way we are equal, which means this process of varna and ashrama works. That's what scientific means. That means it's applicable to everyone. You apply it and it works. Pratyaksha, that's what Prabhu said. And that's exactly what it is. So varna, it acknowledges difference in action, but not difference in worth. It doesn't attack you for your characteristic or your personality, but it targets or it classifies you based on your function. How do you operate in terms of work? What is your mentality when it comes to work? It's not telling you, oh, you're a bad person because you do not do this and that, that's why you're a Vaishya. No, it's the kind of work that you do that makes you a Vaishya, a Shudra, a Brahmana, or a Kṣatriya. Just like electricity, like the electricity running through that heater over there, the electricity running in the bulb, they're all the same, but they serve different functions. The heater is not giving the same function as the light on the ceiling, but the electricity is the same. Similarly, the soul is the same in all living beings, especially in humankind, but through different karma, through different mindsets, to different trauma, whatever you can say, they have different guna, meaning that they have different working abilities. And the benefit of varna is that it channels human diversity towards harmony, not towards competition. In the ideal society, in the Vedic times, even back up until when Kṛṣṇa was present on this earth, we saw that there was no competition. Everyone was very much satisfied with what they were doing. Even when the British came about, 300, 400 years ago, the Lord of Education, I forgot his name, Sir Arthur something. He was in charge of education, and he wrote a letter or a petition to the government saying that the spiritual culture of India is so strong, and these people are so spiritually and morally and ethically strong, I'm paraphrasing, that they cannot be capture them. We cannot steal their society. The only way to do this is if we take away their spiritual culture. If we take away this varṇāśram system. Of course, he didn't say varṇāśram, but he meant the modus operandi of their living, the way they were living. If that is broken, because that was the backbone, if that is broken, then everything will fall apart. And that's exactly what happened. But varna does not equal competition. It simply equals harmony. It means that a Shudra and a Brahmana, Kṣatriya or Vaishya, they all work together for the ultimate benefit of society. And even higher, for the ultimate pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, āśrama, on the other hand, is society's way of helping the soul mature over time. And we can see that in modern day society, most societies are training people for career, marriage, retirement, and many sorts of other things. But that's not āśrama. Vedic āśrama, it means training people for detachment, for responsibility, for renunciation, and most importantly, liberation. Not the liberation that impersonalists conceive of, but the liberation meaning going back home, back to Godhead. So each āśrama, meaning brahmacharya, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi, they all answer a different soul question, meaning that how does the soul operate in that āśrama? For brahmachari, for example, they're answering the question, who am I? What is my purpose? And grihastha is asking, how do I serve responsibly? Whereas the vanaprastha is asking, what am I holding on to? Because when a person takes the stage of vanaprastha, it's the beginning of the detachment. And ultimately, a sannyasa, he's asking, what remains but Kṛṣṇa? What else am I holding on to except for Kṛṣṇa? Because ultimately a sannyasi is one who has to, by traditional means of the word sannyasa, one has to let go of all of his attachments. So the whole purpose of āśrama is that the ashram culture, it helps people from not being stagnant. It prevents people from being psychologically stuck in the same place as they progress in life. At every stage of life, the 4 different stages, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa, at every stage, ashram is helping one to become liberated, to become detached, to become renounced, and to become responsible. Not in this order, but in general. So ashram helps one prevent one from being stagnant in their psychological state of mind. So now that we've discussed varṇa-āśrama and society in general, now we can talk about the yajña-pūruṣaḥ, which is the word that Prabhupada has used several times in this purport. Why must Kṛṣṇa be the center? Prabhupada says that Kṛṣṇa is the yajña-pūruṣaḥ, but why must Kṛṣṇa be the center? You don't have any idea? Thoughts? Yes.
Because if there's any other center, give out the center, and that'll cause conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Krishna is the actual center. Everyone just thinks that reality is reality.
Right. Very nice. Anyone else? Why must Kṛṣṇa be the center? Why must he be the yajña-pūruṣaḥ? Here you go, 529. Bhoktaram yajña-tapasām suridas sarva-loka maheshwaram suridas sarva bhutanam yatva mang shantim richati. So, a person in full consciousness of Kṛṣṇa, or he says me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Like Gauranga Prabhu just said, it creates harmony amongst everyone because they know that they're not the center. So, and knowing that Kṛṣṇa is the center of everything, it automatically relieves one of the idea of proprietor, of being the proprietor. So in modern society, everyone is sacrificing health, youth, time, mental energy, and a variety of other things, whether they realize it or not. One may say, oh no, I'm very productive, I'm not going to waste any time. But they're wasting time somehow or the other because Their whole goal of life is misguided and misdirected. But the question is, it's not should we sacrifice. The question is, who receives the sacrifice? We're all sacrificing at all times of the day of our lives. It's natural. We can't stop it. But the question is, who should we give all of this sacrifice to? To ourselves? To our family? To society? Or to something higher? And that's the whole point of yajña-pūruṣa. That's what makes him yajña-pūruṣa, because he is a receiver and benefactor of all sacrifices. Whatever time we waste, ultimately it should be given to Kṛṣṇa. Whatever money we spend, it should be given to Kṛṣṇa. Because sacrifice done for Kṛṣṇa is liberation. It's liberating. It frees the soul, it frees the mind, it frees the body, so many different things. Ultimately, it pleases Kṛṣṇa. Work for Kṛṣṇa, it's liberating as well. And life becomes meaningful. But if we sacrifice all of these things for the nation, for the family, or for the self, for example, if we sacrifice everything for the nation, it simply leads to conflict through competition. Because in one nation, someone's sacrificing for that nation, and in another nation, someone else is sacrificing for that nation. And what that leads to is international conflict. Right? International conflict, yes. And then if we sacrifice for only family, it leads to attachment. For example, a man who works only for family, nothing higher, he eventually becomes so attached to his family that at the end of his life, he thinks of his family and has to take a birth based on what he thought. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Whatever you think at the time of death, that's the state that you attain. So to make ourselves free from all these troubles, Kṛṣṇa says that he is the yajña-pūruṣa. He is the ultimate benefactor. That's why one should give him the rewards or the benefits of all the sacrifices. And Kṛṣṇa is not asking this because he's a tyrant, because he's the natural center. It is what it is. He's not making or saying something that is not true. He's just stating the fact. You are part and parcel of me, mama evangshu jiva loke, and your service or your swadharma, your dharma is to serve me. If you don't serve me, you'll suffer, but if you serve me, I'll be happy, and in return, everyone will be happy. And he's not trying to bully us into this. This is how things are, and one must try to understand this. If one is being frustrated in all attempts of sacrifices, that means that their sacrifice is being misplaced. Now, leadership that we had in the Vedic times was based on moral gravity, not so much on power. It was not just based on power. They had power as a byproduct, but it wasn't based on power. The king, according to the Vedas, is called a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This does not mean that the king is automatically given a divine status. Rather, it means that he's given a lot of moral accountability. He has to become responsible. He automatically becomes responsible when he becomes a monarch or a king or a leader or a president, whatever you want to call it. And the role of such a leader is that he's supposed to protect dharma. He's supposed to restrain exploitation within society. He's supposed to make sure that all classes are working in harmony, not that one class is neglected and one class is coming out as the winner. And ultimately, he's supposed to guide the culture toward a higher meaning of life, that is, love of Godhead. And when this leadership loses spiritual vision, lots of laws come about, laws that are not made by God. Man-made laws come about. Don't do it like this or you'll be fine. Don't do this, you'll be fine like that. And happiness decreases. It's subtle, but you can see that happiness is decreasing and decreasing as society is going on right now. And hand in hand with decreasing happiness is increasing corruption and cheating propensity, because those are the simple symptoms of Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, if society is not followed in the right manner, then it will only cause harm and strife amongst all the citizens of society. And this is why a purified society has to be controlled by a purified leader. And it's not just the leaders of society who are responsible for purifying the citizens. It's also people in the family, people who are friends, like for example, parents, teachers, managers, various kinds of authorities at work, even temple or community organizers. They all have to be ideal leaders. They cannot be doing something and preaching something else. They're achar and prachar, meaning that their actions and their behavior have to match. Because yad acharati sheshtas tatta devetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. Whatever action a leader does, common man follows. And that is the problem in society right now, which we see happening day in and day out. Then Prabhupada also talks about the secular state. He critiques the secular state. What does secular state mean? Anyone know? This word secular is used throughout the purports of Bhagavad-gītā and Bhagavatam. What does Prabhupada mean by secular? And what does it mean in general? Not religious, yes? Right. Jatamat tatapad. Do whatever makes you happy, do whatever works for you.
Denoting attitudes, activities, or other things that have no religious or spiritual basis.
Correct. That's the problem with secularism. Means that there is no God-based philosophy. And Prabhupada's critique of this secularism, it's not political. He doesn't care to win any post, nor does he want any of his devotees to become political leaders. They can, but that's not his goal. It's more ontological. He's saying that if the state is denying the soul, meaning by not following varṇāśrama dharma, you're not serving the soul, then you're not able to solve your human problems. So having your own ideologies and creating jatamat tatapat, whatever works for you, that is not the solution. Modern secularism assumes that religion is a private belief, not something handed down through disciplic succession, ultimately stemming from God. And meaning of religion is subjective. You understand it this way, because you're individual. Prabhu, please understand it however you want to. Take it as you want. And then the values are negotiable. No, that's not what ideal society is. That's not what religion means. That's not what dharma is. Dharma cannot be, oh, today this, tomorrow something else. Oh, I don't feel like it today, so I'll do this much, and then ignore the rest. No, it has to be consistent, and it has to be performed day in and day out. And it has to ultimately serve the soul, in that the soul has to become liberated from all material attachment. So the Bhagavatam is trying to guide us towards a non-secularistic idea of society, which ultimately removes suffering, provides an objective to life, and gives life a direction. Because without objective and direction in life, we're just going to be washed left and right by the waves of Durga Devi. We have no chance against her. It's kind of like Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. He uses this wonderful example in which every time he brings it up, he says that people appreciated my example, so I will use it again. He says that during his travels in India in the 70s, he would take a lot of train journeys, and he would sit towards the window side, and because of the trains being packed, a lot of people would have no seats. So there would be some space beside him, and he would move over a little bit, and then some man would come and sit. The moment the man sits down, what happens next? Brings his wife first, and then the kids. Right. Exactly. And then what do you have to do? Because you feel guilty for interfering in their space, you get up and you lose your seat. And that's exactly how Maya works. You look at her, and he says, if you just look at that man, you're finished, you lose your spot. Best is look out. So the point is, if you look at Maya, not literally, consciousness-wise, if you give Maya an opportunity, she will take your seat and everything else around you. And that's how powerful Maya Devi is. So, Bhagavatam is not asking us to blindly believe in something. It's trying to make us realize of the truth of the power of Maya and how difficult she can make our life if the society is the way it is. We as devotees do not suffer the same miseries as non-devotee does because we're protected by Krishna. But for one who is not protected, you can see they're suffering like anything, and they don't even know it. They think they're enjoying. They think their enjoyment, which is another definition of the lack of distress temporarily, that's what enjoyment is or happiness is, that is life. And they're struggling to get that same enjoyment over and over and over again, but they're failing day in and day out because there is no purpose and direction in matters of the soul. It's all bodily related, mentally related, and what else? And sensually related. And that's the problem. And then there's this verse that Prabhupada quotes in the Purport from the 18th chapter, 46th verse. Yataha pravritir bhutanam yena sarvam idang tatam swakarmanatam abhyarcha siddhing vindati manavaha. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, attain perfection. So this verse, basically the reason why Prabhupada brings it into the Purport is because it ties the whole Purport together and resolves all issues in the Purport. By saying that, Krishna is not asking us to abandon our work. He's simply asking us to abandon the false idea of ownership. It's not that Krishna doesn't want us to own things or that he doesn't want us to be happy, not work and all these things. No, he's simply telling us to not think of ourselves as proprietors. And he's teaching us that liberation is not really from the work itself, but so much from the false proprietorship of that work. Or the results that come from that work. That's what he wants us to change. He wants us to remind us that we are not in charge of anything. We're not responsible. We're not in control of anything. There's this verse in the 13th chapter that tells how to perform one action, there's 5 different causes who are controlling that action. For me to even blink my eye, for me to speak a word, there's 5 different things that there's the Supreme Lord, there's the soul, there's material nature, there's time, and what's the other one? And karma. All 5 things have to go hand in hand for us to do any action. Without these 5 things going hand in hand, we can't even open our eyelids. That's how much of a control we're under. So we're already under control. So Krishna's not trying to control us more. He's simply trying to tell us that your work is fine, do it, but do it for me, and don't think of yourself as the proprietor. So the idea that this is my talent leads to bondage. But if you turn the same thought into thinking, oh, this is Krishna's mercy, or this is Krishna's spark of splendor, that makes you consciousness liberated and makes you liberated eventually. So perfection in society, or perfection happens in day-to-day life when our duties are aligned with devotion and worship to the Supreme Lord. Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mang namaskaru. Also he says, yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhoshi dadasiyat yat tapasisi konteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you worship, do it for me. And action has to be aligned with the offering. We cannot offer something and then act differently. The offering has to match the action has to match the offering, and vice versa. If you're doing something that is unpleasing to Krishna, that cannot be given to Krishna as an offering. The same applies with what we eat. We cannot be eating things that Krishna doesn't approve, but just for the sake of an offering, we offer it to him. That also doesn't work. And same with life. The purpose of life has to be aligned with what Krishna wants. And lastly, the same thing that binds someone liberates another person. It's like one man's trash is another man's gold. Treasure, yes. So modern society has left people feeling empty. And the reasons are there's speed without any direction. We're driving all these fast cars, but ultimately we're going nothing. Prabhupada, what's that example that he gave? Driving at something with cars, he said, I can't remember the exact words. Something about cars, driving fast but not going anywhere. Right, that's another example. Yes, that one also. And we're making all these choices, but we don't have the clarity as to why we're making these choices and what is the purpose of these choices. No varna means a crisis in identity. No ashram means fear of aging and death, because there's no clarity of, there's no idea or no understanding of soul. The soul never dies. But if one doesn't know that, they're going to see that the body is decaying, it's going to die one day, and that causes fear and anxiety. But for one who knows that the soul will never die, that they're not this body, then automatically Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, they can come to the platform of liberation and then start bhakti. That's only the beginning, and then from there it's a long, long way. So this verse that we just discussed, it's not to make us think of, oh, varṇāśrama, wow, how good it used to be back in the day. It's not supposed to bring nostalgia, but it's supposed to cause an urgency in us to change society now. There's no point in reminiscing about something that has already changed, but we should focus our energy on doing something now that can affect society at large, benefit society at large. And on bringing all of this back on an individual level, we can ask ourselves, instead of asking us, what varna am I? We should ask ourselves, what is my responsibility that is most urgent and in front of me right now? What is my most urgent thing that I need to take care of? And in terms of ashrama, we should not ask ourselves, oh, what ashrama should I be in, or what ashrama am I in? The question should be, am I progressing, or am I just repeating and staying stagnant? These should be the questions on an individual level, because unless we solve it on the individual platform, we will not be able to solve it on the national or international platform. Without understanding that we are servants of the divine, we will always be in misery. Divinity will never reach us. And it's the same concept as yatataro mula nishechanena tripanti tatskanda bhujopashaka pranopahara chayatendriyanam tathaiva. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, the tree can only be benefited by watering the root. You cannot benefit a tree by watering the leaves. If you water every single leaf, the tree will die, because the water is not supposed to be given to the tree, to the leaves. It's supposed to go to the root. Similarly, if food is individually given to all our senses, like if we offer bhoga to our eyes, bhoga to our hands, we will not be full, will not be satisfied. That food has to go into the stomach. And ideally the food should not be food, it should be prasadam that will please all the senses. There's a story that Prabhupada repeats over and over again about how the senses decided to go on a strike and not feed the stomach. But then they realized that without the stomach, they're dying. So then they realized the value of the stomach. The point is, Krishna is the root and Krishna is the stomach. Without worship of Krishna, the leaves and the senses can never be satisfied. Rishikas, meaning the senses, cannot be satisfied without Rishikesh. It's not possible, because the senses are part and parcel of the Supreme. They're His senses. They're not ours to own. Nothing we have is ours. Our body is not ours because it's made of the material elements, the 8 material elements, which ultimately come from Krishna. It's not even nature's. One may say, oh, it's nature's, but where is nature coming from? It's coming from Krishna. Who is the superintendent of Mother Nature? Krishna. So ultimately, everything belongs to Krishna. Nothing is ours. Nothing in society is ours. Nothing individually is ours. And until we change this consciousness that nothing is ours, everything is Krishna's, then, only then, until then, we cannot attain lasting peace. And lastly, varṇāśrama is not about control. It's about cooperating with God, by the will of God, so that every aspect of life, in every role, moves towards devotion. That's the whole point of varṇāśrama. It's not to suppress us, it's not to make someone feel bad, it's not meant to degrade someone or oppress someone or suppress someone. No, it's meant to elevate, ignite, and purify our consciousness. Hare Krishna. If there's any questions or concerns, we have 5 minutes. Yes, Mataji. Yes. Where's the verse? yasya rāṣṭre pure caiva bhagavān yajña-pūruṣaḥ ijyate svena dharmeṇa janair varṇas-ramānvitaiḥ. Translation: the king is supposed to be pious, in whose state and cities the general populace strictly observes the system of 8 social orders of varna and ashrama, and where all citizens engage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their particular occupations. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a beautiful class. So many nice points.
Thank you.
I could hardly take them all in.
I'll share the notes with you.
Thanks.
It's all from Prabhupada, it's not mine.
I really appreciated your list of questions that each ashram is asking.
Right.
This is really thought-provoking. So I will meditate on that.
Do you have them down? You want me to repeat
Yeah,
them?
I do.
Okay.
The brahmachari asks, who am I? The grihasta asks, how do I serve? The vanaprastha, which is what I'm going through, what am I holding on to? And finally, it's the sannyas, what remains but Krishna.
Right. For the grihasta, it's what do I serve? How do I serve responsibly, not just serve?
Okay.
Because serving we all have to do, but grihasta is more about responsibility comes in. Because he has to care for all the other 3 ashramas.
It's wonderful. What you were speaking on the issue of Maya and getting disoriented and losing your seat. It reminds me of that wonderful phrase, one who, let's see, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything.
Beautiful, yes.
The verse itself, what I was gleaning from it is that the king is supposed to be pious, in whose state the general populace strictly observes. That implies there's an interdependency between the populace and the king. The king just can't hold the earth up on his finger alone. He needs the populace to be willing to go along with him.
Right, absolutely.
And if the premise of the society is all about secularism, I'm going to do my own thing, then what chance do we have of having an effective leader in administration if nobody's going along with?
Exactly. Yeah. Thoughts for society to think about.
Yeah. Everyone needs to be on board on the same thing. And if the basis of at least this Western society is complete, as we were saying in that other verse, the residents are independent and unregulated. That's the way we like it here in the West.
Right.
So.
Well, India's not very far behind. The East is not very far behind. They're trying to catch up with the West. But the West is changing and leaning towards Eastern philosophy now. I said the East is no better because we're trying to catch up with the West. Imitating the West, yeah. But they're realizing it's futile. Thank you, Mataji, for your wonderful comments.
Perhaps the dancing white elephant effect is still very, very much appropriate, that if there are non-Indian birthed devotees, not just in India, but all over the world, where the Indian diaspora, unlike 50, 60 years ago, is quite pervasive. There's Indians all over the world. And we see how here in America, I think Europe is similar, that many of the devotees who join and become loyal servants and disciples in Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON movement, they're of Indian origin, and they kind of found their way in life by seeing the ISKCON devotees, whether it be in India or in the West. So we should always keep in mind that we have that advantage, and we don't have to be so much concerned with the sociological analyzation of the changing economy and mindset of people, because like that.
Right. Yeah. You're just making a point, right?
You can say as you like to that.
No, I agree with you. There's nothing for me to say. You said it perfectly. I agree.
I'll give an example. We were doing Times Square Harinam, like Christmas and New Year's time, walking around, and anybody could validify or agree or modify my mathematics on this. It seemed like of everybody who participated, at least 30–40% of them were Indians, jumping, dancing, clapping, participating. And then that made our presentation bigger, bolder, and brighter, and happier. And then other people kind of got caught up in the Saturday night fever, so to speak, and participated. Yeah. So the Indians, you know, they have that potency because they're born in Krishna's land. Why is India so important? Because that's the place where Krishna most prefers to appear, along with the pure devotees. So they always have a head start if they use it, but if they become proud and complacent, like the story of the tortoise and the hare, then we Westerners will ultimately win the race.
Right.
You know?
And history is example of that. Time and time again, India has been captured. We've never tried to capture anyone, but we've been captured numerous times. The Mughals, then the British, and now technology. I don't know what's next, but yeah, like Prabhupada says, if you scratch the back, if you just scratch the Indians' back, they can become devotees. So making the Indians devotees is not very difficult, but because of so much misphilosophy or wrong philosophy in India, it's kind of the pantheism. Everyone is God, whatever is God. There's many different versions of God. This has dominated the Indian thought process, and which prevents people from understanding the importance of Krishna. But once they are brought to that attention, they can make rapid progress. And one of the things from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that I heard from Tamal Krishna Maharaj was that as you go west, as you go west, the civilization becomes more and more materialistic. Starting from Navadvip, the further west you go, the more civilization becomes materialistic, and ending in China, meaning that China is the most around the world. You can see, as you go further west, the nations become more and more materialistic. Not developed necessarily, but more materialistic. China's, because from Navadvip, starting from Navadvip, go west. Japan also, but then China comes after Japan. They're taking Navadvip as the focal point and then going
further. America is more materialistic than Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. In Europe, there's still some concept of worship. They're atheists at large, but they still have the concept of going to the church. It's still there, even in Germany, where it's atheistic country number one. Still there. But in here...
Well, what about the Bible Belt? And, you know, there's a lot of church, God-fearing Christians in this country.
That's there, but it's more materialistic than Europe. Like in Europe, they still worry about their health. They still go on walks. They still see that there's something more to life than just earning money. In Europe, they don't really care so much about money like they do in America. They don't have this whole concept of, what is it, the golden dream, American dream? They don't have that in Europe. There is no European dream. It's a union, a whole bunch of countries put together. They all abide by the same laws. There's dependency on each other, symbiotic relationship, kind of like what you were saying. So, yeah, and then when you get to China, it's impersonalism, pure impersonalism. Voidism, not impersonalism.
So when Srila Prabhupada was about to leave, he mentioned one of his regrets was that I had not implemented varṇāśrama. And I hope that my successors will carry that on. How is that to happen at this point?
Well, good question. My grand spiritual master, His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj, is working on his book on varṇāśrama. So that could be a stepping stone. He's compiling. It's almost done. It's only the last part. It has to be, the cover has to be finalized and then printed. I think that could be a great stepping stone for us to understand what exactly varṇāśrama even means. How do we all have a very limited understanding. We understand few sentences here and there, few concepts here and there, but not the overall workings of it. And I think this book by Jayadvaita Maharaj will shed a lot of light in that direction. No, that's the same one. Same one.
Vanaprastha.
Vanaprastha, yes. But he talks a lot about varṇāśrama in that same book. But he talks about varṇāśrama in the beginning and then vanaprastha. So at least we'll have some idea on what vanaprastha at least means. One out of the three will understand fully.
So we will ask Maharaj when he returns.
Yes, March 26th. Yes. Yeah. He booked his tickets in December. I booked it with him, so I know March 26th. He booked the tickets in December, and I booked it with him, so I know he's coming back on the 26th. Yeah, he likes to fly short distances. From here, he went to Austin. From Austin to ISV, ISV to Honolulu, Honolulu to Melbourne, Melbourne to Sydney, Sydney to Brisbane, Brisbane to Jakarta, Jakarta to Delhi, Delhi to London, London to New York. All of it's booked. He's coming back. No, he's in Australia, Adelaide. Late February. Yeah. You'll see him. Yeah. Yay.
His Grace Prabhavishnu Prabhu